An absolutely massive storm system is unleashing across the central United States right now, and what we're seeing in the latest data is extremely concerning. A squall line stretching from South Texas all the way to the Great Lakes and into eastern Canada is producing some of the most intense severe weather activity we've tracked this season. This is not a typical frontal passage. We're looking at a continuous line of severe thunderstorms spanning thousands of miles, and millions of people are in the path of this dangerous system over the next 24 to 36 hours. Here's what's driving this massive outbreak. An exceptionally strong cold front is plowing eastward across the country, and it's running headlong into very warm, humid air streaming northward out of the Gulf of Mexico. When you get this kind of powerful collision between completely opposite air masses, the atmosphere responds violently. The jet stream is positioned perfectly to enhance this system. Strong upper-level winds are providing enormous energy to the developing storms along the front. This is the kind of setup that produces widespread severe weather and keeps meteorologists on high alert. Let's look at the big picture across North America. The western United States is locked under the influence of a deep Arctic air mass. Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, and the northern Rockies are all experiencing well below freezing temperatures. The skies are clear out west, but the cold is intense and bone-chilling. Meanwhile, the Gulf of Mexico is pumping incredible amounts of warmth and moisture northward. This Gulf moisture is fueling the enormous storm system that's developed along the frontal boundary. The contrast between the cold air in the west and the warm air in the east is creating explosive atmospheric conditions. The squall line itself is one of the most impressive severe weather features we've seen in months. This is a solid wall of thunderstorms extending from southern Texas through Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and into Ontario and Quebec. It's a meteorological beast. Starting with the West and Pacific regions, conditions are dramatically different from what's happening further east. Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Colorado are all under clear skies, but dealing with that Arctic air mass. Denver is experiencing freezing temperatures well below normal for this time of year. The cold air has settled in deeply across the Rockies and the northern plains. Temperatures are running 20 to 30 degrees below average in many locations. This is the same cold air that's driving the severe weather outbreak further east as it crashes into the Gulf warmth. Now let's talk about the Central Plains and Midwest, because this is where conditions are at their most dangerous right now. Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan are all getting hammered by the squall line. The radar data is showing extremely intense thunderstorm cells with heavy rainfall, frequent lightning, and damaging wind potential. Springfield, Missouri, and Indianapolis are sitting right in the crosshairs of this system. These cities are experiencing some of the strongest storm cells in the entire squall line. The wind threat is particularly concerning, with gusts potentially exceeding 70 miles per hour in the most intense cells. Chicago is also in the danger zone. The squall line is approaching the city rapidly, and conditions are going to deteriorate quickly over the next few hours. Behind this line, temperatures are going to crash. We're talking about a possible flash freeze situation where wet roads could turn to ice almost immediately. The lightning activity along this squall line is absolutely off the charts. The data shows continuous electrical activity from Texas all the way through Illinois. This is one of the most electrically active systems we've tracked this year. If you're anywhere near this line, you need to be indoors immediately. One of the biggest concerns with a squall line this long and this intense is the wind threat. These systems are notorious for producing widespread damaging winds. We're not just talking about isolated wind gusts. This is a continuous line of storms that can produce destructive winds over hundreds of miles. Power outages are going to be a major issue across the affected areas. With winds this strong and storms this widespread, we're expecting downed trees and power lines across multiple states. Some areas could be without power for days. Let's shift south and talk about Texas and the Gulf Coast region. Dallas and Austin are right in the southern anchor of this squall line. These cities are experiencing severe thunderstorm activity with massive lightning strikes and torrential rainfall. The atmosphere over Texas is extremely unstable right now. Warm, humid air from the Gulf is creating perfect conditions for intense convective development. The storms firing up over East Texas and moving into Arkansas are showing classic severe weather signatures. Little Rock, Arkansas is positioned right in the heart of the most intense activity. The radar signatures over Little Rock are showing some of the heaviest precipitation rates in the entire system. Flash flooding is a serious concern here, along with damaging winds and frequent lightning. The rainfall rates in these storms are exceptional. We're seeing reports of multiple inches of rain falling in just 1 to 2 hours. When you get that kind of rainfall intensity, flash flooding happens quickly. Low-lying areas, small streams, and urban zones with poor drainage are all at high risk. One of the most dangerous aspects of this setup is what meteorologists call the training effect. Multiple thunderstorm cells are moving over the same areas in succession. This means some locations could see storm after storm passing overhead, leading to extreme rainfall totals and significant flooding. The severe weather threat extends well beyond just heavy rain. The wind shear in this environment is conducive to rotating storms. While we're not forecasting a major tornado outbreak, isolated tornadoes are certainly possible, especially along the southern portion of the squall line in Texas, Arkansas, and Missouri. The Storm Prediction Center is monitoring this situation very closely. Severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings are likely to be issued continuously as this line moves east. If you're in the path of this system, you need multiple ways to receive warnings. Now let's talk about what's happening further east along the Atlantic seaboard. Right now, cities like New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. are in the warm sector ahead of this system. Conditions are relatively calm and mild at the moment, but that's about to change dramatically. This massive squall line is racing eastward at 40 to 50 miles per hour. By tomorrow, the entire mid-Atlantic and northeast will be dealing with the severe weather threat. The I-95 corridor should prepare for a very stormy Friday. The timing is concerning because this system is going to hit major metropolitan areas during peak activity hours. The morning commute tomorrow could be extremely dangerous across the northeast, with heavy rain, strong winds, and possible embedded severe thunderstorms. Let's not forget about what's happening in Canada. The northern portion of this storm system has reached into Ontario and Quebec. Toronto is experiencing widespread heavy rainfall as the system's northern edge moves through. The precipitation is continuous and heavy, creating flooding concerns in urban areas. Montreal and other Quebec cities are also getting hit with significant rainfall. Some interior areas of eastern Canada could see this transition to a rain and snow mix as colder air wraps around behind the system. The Great Lakes region of Canada is particularly vulnerable to heavy precipitation. The duration of this event is a major concern. This isn't a quick-moving squall line that passes in an hour. The system is so large and so organized that some areas could be dealing with severe weather for 6 to 8 hours or more. Behind this squall line, the cold air is going to come crashing in. Areas that are seeing temperatures in the 60s and 70s right now will drop into the 30s and 40s within hours of the front passing. Any wet surfaces could freeze quickly, creating treacherous conditions. The wind doesn't stop once the squall line passes either. Strong northwesterly winds are going to develop behind the front, with sustained winds of 25 to 35 miles per hour and higher gusts. This will make it feel even colder and could cause additional tree damage in areas already weakened by the storms. Looking at the specific threats city by city, Dallas and Austin need to prepare for continuing severe weather tonight. The squall line is going to maintain its intensity as it moves through East Texas. Heavy rain, damaging winds, and frequent lightning are all guaranteed. Little Rock is in for several more hours of dangerous conditions. The most intense part of the squall line is moving directly over Arkansas. This is not the time to be outside or on the roads. Flash flooding is increasingly likely as rainfall totals climb. Springfield, Missouri is about to get hit hard. The squall line is approaching from the southwest, and the storm cells are showing intense rotation and very strong wind signatures. This could be one of the hardest hit cities in the entire event. Indianapolis should expect severe conditions within the next few hours. The squall line is racing toward Indiana, and there's no sign of it weakening. In fact, the storms may actually intensify as they move into the richer moisture across the lower Ohio Valley. Chicago has maybe 2 to 3 hours before this line arrives. Use that time wisely to secure outdoor items, charge phones, and prepare for possible power outages. The wind threat in Chicago is significant, and we could see widespread damage. Toronto is already experiencing the effects, with heavy rain falling continuously. The concern in Toronto is going to be urban flooding as storm drains become overwhelmed. The city's infrastructure is going to be tested by this prolonged heavy rainfall. Denver and the Rockies are on the backside of this entire system. The skies are clear, but the temperatures are brutal. This is the same Arctic air that's going to spread across the eastern United States once this front passes. The flash freeze potential cannot be overstated. In areas where heavy rain falls and then temperatures plummet within hours, we're going to see rapid icing of roads and sidewalks. This is particularly dangerous because it happens so quickly that people may not be prepared. Travel is going to be extremely hazardous across multiple states tonight and tomorrow. If you don't have to be on the roads, stay home. Driving in severe thunderstorms with heavy rain, strong winds, and possible hail is dangerous enough. Add in the lightning threat, and it becomes life-threatening. Airlines are going to see major disruptions at hubs like Dallas, Chicago, and Toronto. If you have travel plans through any of these cities over the next 24 hours, expect delays and cancellations. The severe weather is going to make flying challenging and potentially impossible during the worst of the storms. The electrical grid is going to take a beating from this system. The combination of strong winds, heavy precipitation, and lightning strikes is going to cause widespread power outages. Some areas could be in the dark for multiple days while crews work to repair the damage. Schools and businesses across the affected regions should consider cancelling or delaying activities tomorrow. This is a significant severe weather event that warrants taking extra precautions. People's safety needs to be the top priority. One positive aspect is that this system is moving quickly. Unlike slow-moving tropical systems that can stall and produce days of rainfall, this squall line is racing eastward. The severe weather at any one location should be relatively brief, though still very intense. However, the scope of this event is enormous. We're talking about severe weather impacts from Texas to Canada, affecting tens of millions of people. The cleanup and recovery from this system could take weeks in some of the hardest hit areas. Emergency management officials across multiple states are already activating their severe weather protocols. Storm shelters are being opened in some communities. This is the kind of event that requires coordinated response from local, state, and federal agencies. We'll continue monitoring this dangerous situation very closely over the next 24 hours. Conditions are evolving rapidly, and the severe weather threat is going to shift eastward as the squall line progresses. Make sure your phone is charged and weather alerts are turned on. Have a way to receive warnings even if the power goes out. Know where your safe place is in case tornado warnings are issued for your area. This is a high-end severe weather event that needs to be taken very seriously. Stay weather aware, stay safe, and we'll keep you updated as this system continues to develop.